Hello and welcome to the Charmed Life podcast. This podcast is all about magic, metaphysics, mysticism, and the unconditional love of the universe. And I am your host. My name is Tricia Carr. I am a hypnotherapist, a spiritual teacher, a multidimensional medium, empathic channel, and animal telepath. And I hope you enjoy what we have for you today. You know, this podcast is called Charmed Life because there's this magical story behind it, in that it was in my awakening time that my guides told me about how, yes, I live a charmed life, and that living a charmed life is our birthright. And what charm is magic. So living a magical life is our birthright. And you know what magic is? It just is. The way that we live, the way that we say manifest or create is just magic, changing something from one form to another, changing something from energy to material. That's magic. So as we say, it is our birthright. It's just simply what we are. But of course, when we think of magic, we think of it as a positive sense. And so that is the birthright that I am enhancing with the name of this podcast and, with my spiritual practice and my spiritual teaching, is to be able to have a conscious, intentional, highest good practice of magic as a lifestyle. And with that, I am sharing with you in this episode some exclusive content that I taught in my Mystic Arts Academy. Mystic Arts Academy is a membership-based platform, but you can also just drop in. You could drop in for classes. So if you want to check out the link in the description, or just go to my website, and where you see the place where it says Mystic Arts Academy, and under the menu of Work With Me. So you could just go there. You could either drop in for a single class, but I highly recommend the subscription because it's pretty affordable. And then you get 2 workshops per month, plus at least 1 MP3 download of a unique, powerful meditation. I say it's powerful because it's really the co-creation of all who are engaged in it. We channel it together, even though it's coming from my face hole, from my voice, mouth sound thing. It's a co-creation. And I deliver that as a produced MP3, but we also hold those sessions live, so live group meditations. And that's also done in the workshops as well. Many of the workshops include a meditative journey or an attunement. And anyway, check the link in the description. It is definitely a magical place. And so this content that I'm sharing with you is an excerpt from one of these classes, one of these workshops. And it is just so powerful that I feel compelled, I feel led to share it a little more broadly from the co-creation of that space of Mystic Arts Academy. This is called Magick Spells: How to Craft and Cast Ritualistic Spells for Healing and Manifestation. I'm going to read you the description that I see. The description is also channeled. And so this is the setup. And then we're going to move right into the content. The ritual of crafting and casting magical spells is a beautifully healing experience. The modern day self-help version of Magick Spells is affirmations, also a potent practice. Magical spells is an ancient, ancestral art form. Magical spell crafting requires exploration and healing of the shadow in order to partner with spirit and nature. It is more than a mere recitation of words. Crafting spells evokes needs and desires from the deepest realms of soul. Casting spells programs the mind and body to cooperate with the higher purpose of the one will. Thus, your will becomes one with the will of creation. Creation is waiting for you to make the first move in the process. We are here to create. We are magic because we are both spirit and nature. In this workshop, I teach a simple formula for crafting and casting magical spells. We work in what is known white magic, and this means that the highest good for one and all is the guiding intention. Even a spell to block negative energies can be composed from white magic. White magic is work from the inside out, healing within to align with the new healed creation without. Believe in the possibilities. Believe in the promises to yourself. Believe in the promises to the universe. And before we move in, actually, let me just let you know that there is a very special YouTube video that is published as a sort of companion to this episode, and it is actually pretty fun. It references the metaphysics of the Bible theme that I have going on throughout this podcast and throughout the YouTube channel. It's unique content for YouTube, and it talks about blaspheming oneself, and it talks about casting negative curses or negative spells, casting curses upon oneself, and how you might be doing it even if you're not aware of it. So, without further delay, I welcome you into this information about magical spell casting and crafting, and I will talk to you on the other side. We were talking about that intimacy with the universe. That's what unity is, right? It's the ultimate intimacy. To be able to be a being of sovereignty, and yet knowing that you and I are one, that you are just another self of me. That is true intimacy. And so the process of crafting and casting magic spells is the deepest of intimate practices. All right. Well, let's dive right in. We have how to craft a spell, a magical spell. First, be clear about what you want. Second, get to the affirmative statement of it. Third, find your opportunity to respond with your vibration. When you hear opportunity respond, that means responsibility. Responsibility is the ability to respond. So we're going to break down each of these points many times over. You're free to take notes. And again, you'll get these slides as notes in a PDF. But we're going to break it down. Those are the really basic steps. We have to be clear about what we want, which is a whole process. We have to get to the affirmative statement of it, another whole process. And then find the opportunity to respond with your vibration, to shift your vibration. They are all actually quite symbiotic. So let's talk about that. How to craft a spell. We have white magic is what we are doing, which is, again, one energy, one will, which I'll talk about in a moment. White magic is all about unity and potency. Now, the reason I say potency is because white magic is really the only magic. It's if we can do magic. We can actually cause harm to another or block another's process without doing our own inner work, having the focus outside rather than within, but it is temporary and it doesn't actually create anything. Because if you are causing a deduction from any part of the field, then that affects you as well. So it's never an addition, it's never an augmentation, unless it's an augmentation for all. So now, in the 3D, we have really immediate events where we may need to protect ourselves. We may need to hit someone with a baseball bat. I mean, honestly, it doesn't happen that often to us now in the way that in our society as compared to more primitive times. And so that's set aside. That's not exactly what we're talking about. We're talking about a grander, more holistic, a metaphysical practice where we are working with the whole energy. So in immediate matter where things are really, really quick and that is actually to be able to protect yourself or someone else. If you had to actually cause harm, that's different. And that would be a part of the holistic experience because you didn't call that in a specific conscious way. So just to acknowledge that we are moving in the metaphysical realms when we talk about this. We're talking philosophy and we are talking about art form. So having said that, white magic is about unity. Therefore, it is the most and the only potent magic, the strongest and the most effective, and might as well say sustainable. White magic is about trusting the one will. In the Lord's Prayer in the Bible, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. And Jesus said when he was in the Garden of Gethsemane, he said, Father, if you can, please take this cup from me. Nevertheless, thy will be done. And that's a big part of this process, is that we get really specific about what we want. We get really specific and we work on and say, I want to align with this. And yet we say, but the most important thing is I feel like that is whatever this object is of what the outcome is that I want, that I'm feeling so specific and I'm in love with it right now. I surrender it back to the one energy. That's where the magic happens. That's the magical spark. And it's a deep, deep trust in the one will and the continued affirmation of the one will. To use Jesus again, then he was on the cross and he said, forgive them, they know not what they do. He was actually talking to God. He said, he's like, I'm in charge of God now. He's like, he was so aligned with the one will that the ones who were creating this thing that he was saying, please, please, dripping drops of blood like sweat, saying, I don't want this to happen. And he got so far in alignment with the one will that he said, nevertheless, thy will be done, and forgive them. So he got on the team of the one will so much so that even the worst thing that he could imagine happening, that could happen, not just imagine, was literally happening. He was on board with it and trusting in it. So to go off on, y'all know that my background when I was a kid was in the Christian church. I'm not in the Christian church anymore. I do not identify as a Christian, mainly because that word Christian came long, long after actually Jesus lived. So, but at the same time, the Bible, all of it has a lot of magic in it. It's a very, very magical book. It's not to say that it's perfect or infallible, but there's a lot of magical art and philosophy in that book. So trusting the one will, trusting unity, trusting in the one energy. That's what magic is about. And white magic is about transcendence. Now, the reason it's about transcendence is because we are working with our own energy to align and therefore to transcend, to overcome any of the conditions here. Again, using that example of Jesus on the cross, regardless of these conditions, he was able to say, thy will be done. He knows, I can't see around that corner, but I am aligning right now with the something good that is coming of this, that even this right now is just helping me to grow and to transcend the conditions. So while it's a paradox, as things are, the closer we get to source, we find paradox means spirit and matter are paradox as well. Spirit is non-matter and matter is matter. That's what we're working with here. So we go deeply into and get very specific about what we want, and then we backtrack and we say, but that is just reminding me of what I truly want, which is to transcend and to have the conditions just be the extra things, that they can't actually control me or change who it is that I am in my being, that it's just an outflow, it's just the creation of this energy, which is timeless, eternal, and untarnishable by anything from the outside. So magic is transcending. White magic is the only sustainable magic. I mentioned that. White magic is all about vibration and frequency. Vibration is the feminine energy. Frequency is the masculine energy. This dichotomy, that's how matter comes into being. That's how any action expression comes into being. So white magic is inside out. The Enlightened Entrepreneur, an 8-week live online program to launch and scale your spiritual business. This program begins July 18th, 2021. It's one thing to know you are a healer or an intuitive, a coach, an energy worker, but quite another to figure out how you can take your talents and create a successful business out of them. We need to know how to set up our life to support our work and how to attract clients and build a brand, how to conduct our sessions with integrity, and how to shine our light even brighter so more people can find us and book with us. Enter the Enlightened Entrepreneur, a live online 8-week course specifically designed to teach heart-led practitioners how to launch, establish, and scale their own highly successful spiritual businesses. The Enlightened Entrepreneur is taught by Crystal Ann Compton and me, Tricia Carr. Crystal and I bring you our years of experience as successful, independent entrepreneurs in the spiritual space, and we alchemize this with cutting-edge, groundbreaking technology designed for heart-based entrepreneurs. If you know you have a mission to help and serve, if you want to do what you love and love what you do, and if you believe that spiritual entrepreneurs are not meant to suffer under the weight of professional struggle, then register now. We begin July 18th. Scale up or start your spiritual business with the Enlightened Entrepreneur. So we do use the outside, what's happening on the outside, to inspire us to move within. I don't like my job. I don't like my relationship. I don't like this. But what do I really want? Well, I don't want just the absence of this job. That's not something we want to call in, right? Just this reality, but no job. That's not magical enough for me. What I really want is, maybe I want freedom. Maybe I want abundance. Maybe I want to be able to create and express and to collaborate with others. That's what I want. The absence of what I want is telling me what I want. And so we can use the outside to go within and to get really clear about what it is that we do want. Now, as I said, with white magic, even when it is a blocking or binding spell, one must shift their vibration basically so that the frequency that is emitting from your vibration repels negativity. That's how blocking or binding spells work. Now, I want to take a moment on that because this is advanced, and it's really good for us to focus on that. It's advanced, yet it's very human of us to walk around in our day with the negative script saying, I don't want this, I don't like this, she should leave me alone, he should be quiet, and they should let me this. That's very human, and I hope someday to transcend that and to be, all ascended and not have those negative scripts. But in fact, the way that we actually shift, the way that we stop someone else from mistreating us is to be a different someone. That's the truth. In order for us to block or bind someone's controversial actions toward us, then we need to not be the home that they can place that energy. And so we shift our vibration, and then as we send out a new signal, they can't even find us. They can't find us. That's how we block and bind. But the problem is that when people just begin a little bit of idea about magic or spirituality, and they say, there's this like kind of old dogmatic way of thinking about it that's like, I have a curse on me. Can you bind the person putting a curse on me? And what you're doing then is just identifying to victimhood. And then you're casting a spell on yourself to be a continued victim. Not to mention that if we were to actually just bind someone in the sense that we want them to just have demise, I want my boss to be fired, and that's what we're just trying to do, then you know what? Maybe you could actually make that spell successful. You get that boss fired. And guess what could happen? You get a boss in his place who's even worse and hates you even more because you're still walking around with the same frequency that you haven't grown from. So I'm kind of being extreme here in my examples, but that's what I hope that I want you to feel, that almost awakening, that binding and blocking is useful in a sense, but it's because we've changed our radio signal, and therefore the signal's no longer that's why it's a blocked signal. It's because they're normally, or it was going like this, where these were aligning, but you changed yours, so now it goes like this, and it just passes you by. And we can do this. How much freedom do you feel by knowing, I just have to feel different? And you know what the difference that I feel is better because it's more my home frequency. It's more my soul's true frequency. So it's just a win, win, win. That's what magic is. Okay, so we're going to talk about that a little bit more. And next, for example, if you, let's say in try to like just imagine a real world example and you wanted to protect your child. Well, how much more empowered would you feel rather than thinking you had to go and be a bodyguard against for your child at all times? But if somehow you were able to your child were invisible frequency wise to a potential threat. Now we're kind of suspending our disbelief a little bit here, but it's just a way for us to grasp. Wouldn't it be great if we were in some kind of cartoon, Disney, Pixar movie, and we could just put a cloak of invisibility around our child if we thought that they were in a dangerous situation? Wouldn't that be better than having to go and fight off bad guys? Well, that's what we're doing. Our cloak of invisibility comes from the inside so that we are actually we're holding a different vibration and we no longer align with those old frequencies of either, conflict with someone else, a lack of abundance, anything that in your life that you are intending to magically shift in your alignment with your true creation. Here's another example. Your boss at work or your ex is driving you crazy. I'm sure that's never happened to any of you. Definitely hasn't happened to me. Well, if you shift your vibration so that they cannot cause conflict with you, all the while focusing on the unconditional highest good for you both. That's magic. And you know how cool it is when that works out? And let's say instead of your boss gets fired, they go off to some other company and you know what? They're making more money and they actually when you run into them, they seem to be nicer than they used to be. So they actually kind of moved through some karma. I mean, it's none of our business really. But I remember Marianne Williamson saying once that, if you have a situation like, let's say an ex and you're very, very hurt, angry, heartbroken, whatever it is, she said, if you pray for 30 days straight, may they be healthy, may they be happy, may they be blessed, and you truly feel it every single day for 30 days, at the end of those 30 days, either they will be healthy, happy, and blessed, or you won't care anymore. It will not even cross your mind. That is magic, and that is a magic spell. That is a magic spell. All right, so how to craft a personal healing spell. So when it is a personal healing spell, and when I say healing, it could be emotional, but I'm thinking also physical. We want to shift the vibration to the light unconditionally. So this is, again, we take what it is we specifically want, and we take that all the way up to the edge of the light, and then it is as if we lay it on an altar so that we can relinquish anything that is separating us from occupying fully the identity of light. So that's how we take the condition as the subject, and we hold it and we love it and we feel into it and we say, why do I want this and how do I want this and how will this benefit others and how will this benefit myself? I take it all the way up to there and then I lay it on the altar and I say, thy will be done. I release that condition and then I just become light. What happens in that process is that no matter what, it becomes better than you ever could have imagined it. I've heard this and I've said this before. In order for something beyond your wildest dreams to come true, it means that your wildest dreams have to not come true because we're going to go even further than what you could imagine. We want to embrace karma unconditionally. Karma is a good thing. I have of late been talking about that a lot on my podcast and on my YouTube channel. Karma is the expression of the divine lessons. It's basically the tests, it's the study material of the divine directives that we have put forth from pre-birth, before this life. I want to learn about humility. And so I'm going to go into this life as someone who has narcissistic tendencies, and I'm going to break someone's heart because of that. And I'm going to learn about how to become humble because of that. All that heartbreak and that thing, that karma, those are the tests, just like the tests that we have in school, the things that we need to read, the ways that we need to grow, or the weights that we lift in order to get stronger. That's what karma is. And so we want to embrace and love our karma unconditionally. Know that this process, this obstacle, this challenge is here for us, not just for us, but divinely directed by us, by that higher self. And so in magic, we are aligning with the higher self. That's the transcendence. Then as you are identified to the light, then you can claim your highest healing. So as I said, we take the condition, we take the subject, the desire, all the way up to the very last split second, and then we lay it on the altar of light, so that then we so align with it, we're able to claim our highest healing, even though we don't know what that is, because we're actually relinquishing the mind. We're relinquishing the knowing. We're relinquishing even the desire. It's a strange and beautiful place to be. And to be able to be aligned with that one will, to be in the trust and the patience and the faith. The unconditionality is the key to transcendence. Recognizing your karma as a blessing aligns you to the higher self plan. When it is a shadow work spell for yourself, really compassion is everything. So if you have some shadow work to do with self-confidence, self-esteem, we need to get deep down into the compassion. We need to be the divine parent, loving the divine child within, and find the compassion. But it's also about compassion for others. If your dad criticized you so much, we have to get deep down into, as we are crafting the spell to be able to lift this shadow, uplift it and bring light to it, we need to go into all of the dark places and bring the light there. So if your father was someone who criticized you, and so now you kind of walk around with poor self-esteem, then you're going to want to go into the experience saying, why did my father act this way? And then we find the place where his shadow is, and we have compassion for him. Now, we don't have to let a toxic relationship back in our life. That is not what it's about. It's about finding the threads of energy that connect you with compassion, that connect you with the holistic experience of every soul is one soul. So with a shadow spell, a shadow healing spell, compassion is everything. I mean, compassion is everything in all of this, but especially when we're working with shadow, because that's what's the shadow is something that we are wounded about and we believe we don't deserve to heal from. And so we need to give that healing to ourselves. And we want to raise our vibration to that pre-birth planning ability to respond. Every time we see responsibility, ability to respond. The pre-birth planning, you're the higher self planning this life, designing the soul's directives, the things that you want to learn, expand, and contribute to the universe through your learning and expanding. And we align with that, and that will make us then grateful, weirdly grateful that dad was such a jerk and said such terrible things to a child, you know? We actually become grateful, because what would you have missed out on learning had you not had that challenge? What would you have missed out? You know, so to be able to be grateful for those lessons, this is how we can craft a spell to heal the shadow. I'm kind of moving fast, and these are a lot of details, but these are just some examples that you can kind of think about yourself. And through the spell examples that I give you here, you can maybe go back, and this is a very private, sacred, and individualized practice anyway. So here we go. All right, crafting and casting magic spells also requires that you honor your humanity, that we don't abandon or bypass the humanity. And I got to tell you that I've tried to do that before. I have tried to move quickly to craft a spell, something magical, and just kind of like forced the words, and then it just doesn't work. And what I mean by that is, I remember one specifically, I was like, I would like to, something along the lines of, I would like to attract this many more podcast not subscribers, but downloads with, a guest like Deepak Chopra, blah, 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 and everything. But I was like, whoo-hoo, like I wasn't aligned with it. I was nervous about it. I didn't feel aligned with it, but I thought that I could just write the words and kind of muscle it out and just repeat it and try to feel my way toward it. You got to get closer than that. Now you can like bring it, you have to meet in the middle. The words and the way that you're crafting it, it can be, you can feel your way all the way to the edge of it. But I had a big disparity in who I believed I was and that I was calling in. So you can't just skip over things. You can't skip over the compassion for yourself if you're doing shadow healing spells. You can't skip over the compassion for your dad or your boss or something like that if you want to do a binding or blocking a frequency. You have to do all of the feeling work and the healing and feeling work. That's where the real stuff is done. So yeah, we can't abandon our humanity. We can't just kind of muscle our way into it. We can't just bypass and think, well, if I just say these words, then, I'll stop feeling so sorry for myself. No, you need to give that compassion and feel it truly in order to move forward. What you can do is promise this human you. If you feel like the fear, because really we are working with the inner child when we're working with the shadow. So if you feel nervous about it, about exploring the things in your shadow, about finding a way to have compassion for yourself or for others, then just take a moment to really be aligned with the divine parent or with source, like pure consciousness, and promise the human you or the inner child that you're going into the abyss in order to take the greatest possible care. So this is that surrender, and knowing, and as you do that, as you surrender and also make that promise to the human you or the inner child, then you actually are on the team with spirit. That surrender says, I have faith in that one will. I have faith in the one energy. And I know that if I can relax and go into the abyss, that it's going to get better because I'm bringing light with me into the shadow. And what this feels like to me, this example, is those of you, well, even I'm not a parent, but I remember it and I've seen it. When you drop your child off at school, those first few grades, and they're just like, or even preschool, and they just think you're abandoning them. And while your heart is breaking, as you leave your child at the school, you know it's for their highest good. You know they're going to be able to recover. And you know you can continue to support them and be there for them all throughout. And if they walk in that school, they're going to have some kids that are having a great time and some teachers who are so nice to them, and they're going to be okay. So we need to nurture our inner child like that rather than avoid or abandon like I've tried to do, and be there with them, yet at the same time lead the inner child, the human part of us. Crafting and casting magic spells requires patience, presence, faith, will, and, So that was the end of that slide. And I can't go back. I don't remember how to go back on this. Anyway, so it requires patience, faith, will, and presence. And once again, will, actually I am going to go back because that's important. Because I wanted to break down just a little bit what I mean by will. Okay, patience, presence, faith, and will. Will is basically faith sustained. Will is the masculine energy. So patience is very feminine, right? I'm going to sit here. I'm going to allow my vibration to be at peace, to be serene. And that is a presence energy. To be patient is to be present. Faith means I'm going to sustain this. I'm going to sustain this feminine magnetism, this drawing in energy. And then that becomes will. That means I'm going to continue to affirm it with my thoughts. I'm going to continue to affirm it with my actions. That's more of the electric energy or the masculine energy. So once again, it takes the whole of our electric magnetic energy in order to do magic. There is, and I put will at the end because at the end of your spell, that's not the end of your spell. You need to continue to take action upon it. You need to continue to be that spell. You need to continue to be, and so it is. And so whatever is showing up in the reality, you say, thank you, and so it is. I like it. It is showing up for me. That is a sustaining of the will, because you are now aligning your will, thought, your action, with the one will, because it's showing, you said, we're doing this. This is what it looks like when it is done. Casting magic spells also requires, the casting extends beyond the time of your ritual. I was just saying that. And it's this continued reinforcement that it is done every time you think of it. Every time it shows, it bubbles up to the top of your awareness. The spell, the relationship, the healing. We say, oh yes, and the healing is here. Yes, this is what it looks like as the magic is manifesting. We continue and we just keep giving ourselves that affirmative thought and allow ourselves to call it in with the feeling, because of course feeling is the secret, because the feeling is the magnetic nature. So we think it and then we allow ourselves to really feel it. What if this is the magic? How cool. What if it is surprising me right now? That's sometimes where we need to go. We want to reinforce with joy, for it is done. Joy for the something good that is coming of this, that keeps us in the allowing energy. That is the sustained will of the magic spell manifesting. All right, so here we go, magic spell formula. Again, I'm going fast, but it's going to continue to make a lot of sense as we look at each part, dissect it, and then repeat some of the things. Opening. The opening to call on the highest light. I find that rhyme and meter really help to induce the mind. The old-fashioned spells that we've heard of in, like in Charmed and some of the old Hermetic Golden Dawn lore that we know about. And if you guys were in the energy intensive last year, I taught us decrees as a way to actually induce ourselves into state. And if you can make them rhyme, if you give them rhyme and meter, rhythm, then that really is a great way to help the mind to induce. It disrupts and it aligns the conscious mind. It does both. It disrupts and aligns it so that we can now activate the subconscious and the feeling nature. The repetition also helps along with that. But if we give it rhyme and meter, then we're walking throughout our day. We think of it, and that's a part of our spell casting is when we think of it to continue to reinforce it with joy, then we can recite our little opening, which is kind of like an anchor or a symbol for the whole, or maybe it's the ending, which I have a couple of examples to show you for both of those. And then that will help us to continue to reinforce it. And you can do it, as a part of some of your follow-up work. Second part, vibrational shift. And this is like the body of your spell. And this could include some decrees, requests, so on and so forth. Examples coming. Frequency refinement, which I'm going to show you. It's basically the bridge between the vibrational shift, the body, to the conclusion, the close with a ritualized, embodied declaration statements. So it's kind of like the other side of the coin. It's the bookend of the opening. So let's break this down a little bit. I'm going to give you some of my own examples of a spell that I did recently. All right, so this is one. I actually shared it I think I shared it in our group. I may have shared it on the podcast. I can't remember. This is an opening. You're welcome to take this, use it exactly as it is, change it around. But this is an example that I wrote for a spell. And I actually use this not just for one spell. For me, this works for many different spells. So it is like a calling card to move into my magical spell environment, at least, some of the time. In sacred space of love and grace, may peace be Lord, may love reward. Surrender to one, I call on white. I summon fun, I trust in light. Thy will be done in love and might. I'll do it again. In sacred space of love and grace, may peace be Lord, may love reward. Surrender to one, I call on white. I summon fun, I trust in light. Thy will be done in love and might. In sacred space of love and grace, may peace be Lord, may love reward. Surrender to one, I call on white. I summon fun, I trust in light. Thy will be done in love and might. So for me, again, you make this your own. For you, maybe I summon fun, it seems weird to you, but fun is a key word for me. It's a buzzword. Fun to me means freedom. It means levity. It means abundance. So I'm a Life Path 5, which is it's all about freedom. And it's really about freedom from having done the real building work. And so to me, fun is kind of like it means that it's free. I have freedom. And I would only really be having fun if I knew that the work was done, if there was a true foundation. So that's for me. Maybe you don't really like I Call on White. I like that because it was, for me, it was helping me to tap into my ancestral magical traditions. So being from that Western path and being from the Celtic path, that worked with me. Also, this word for me, the line, may peace be Lord. And I made the Lord a lowercase l. See, for me personally, because you guys know I have the Christian background, and I don't like the word Lord, capital L, to refer to source energy or, God. And so I actually, for me, using Lord as a lowercase l took it back from the patriarchy. For me, it did that because I said no man or no even anthropomorphic version that man has created can be Lord, but peace can be Lord. And so I kind of took it back with that. And that was, again, it's a funky little thing. I'm sharing all of this because this might be the way that you weave some of your key words, some of your key healing points in there to be able to, make it really impactful for you. Or if you align with this, again, take it. Take part of it, take all of it, whatever you like. And then, of course, thy will be done. I even used the King James version of the thy, using that pronoun because that felt good to me because of the magical recitations that have been made with that prayer or that spell. I wanted to call that in because I really liked that. So there we go, an example of an opening. I have another opening. It's actually an opening, but it is standing alone too, and it's sort of a mini spell. And let's see if I can recall it off the cuff. My vision is bright, my life is so light, full of surprise, so open my eyes. And this is actually a third eye opening spell for me. And I can say it throughout the day. I'll say that when I'm feeling frustrated. Because if I'm feeling frustrated, that means I am in resistance to the circumstances. But I created them with my vibration. So I'm like, that is me saying, please open my eyes to how this is my aligned creation. My vision is bright. So that's like me saying my third eye is open. My vision is bright. My life is so light. Isn't that a good thing to feel? So that the antithesis to feeling frustrated, full of surprise. So I'm saying like whatever's going on here, I'm just not seeing that, the surprise of it actually being right for me. And that's also a keyword for me because my human design, I'm a reflector and my signature is surprise. That's like how my life is supposed to be full of surprise. So open my eyes. I like that a lot. That one reminds me very Bewitched. It sounds like Samantha, like ting-a-ling-a-ling, So that could be an opening to a spell for you to go into something else. Or like I say, like this one here, I have on my phone when I want to call in, and this one's on the longer side. But if I wanted to, I could put it on my phone and then just like kind of tap into it to activate the spell that I just bubbled up to the surface, how the results were. All right, so here we go. Now, again, this is just an example of a spell I have done, and this is the vibrational shift, so the body. So now I have to say the way that I get to the body, and we're going to go through this together, the example or the technique I have for you is chakra questioning. I'm just mentioning that now because some of you may have either heard me talk about it or already know what this is. But to be able to, we're going to dig into how you actually bring about this body or the vibrational shift and the way that I'm going to suggest to you, which you can take it just as it is. It's very simple, or you can imagine a million other ways, use that as a jumping off point. But this is what this was, and there's two parts of this, of the vibrational shift, the actual body of it. And this was about my boss. And the example I kind of keep bringing up, like say you have a boss who's a jerk. So this was my boss at my old career. And I felt very much like I was hovered over, even though I hardly ever saw him, but empathically I could feel him all the time. And anytime I heard from him, it was something really uncomfortable, really misaligned with me. I was very frustrated and I felt really out of alignment with this person. And so I started, as I did the chakra questioning, the first thing that was important for me was to adjust my own vibration. What is important to me? And so I did some decrees. I decree my discipleship, meaning discipleship means that I'm here to learn, to grow, to serve, to be dedicated. That's what it means to me to be a disciple. I decree my dedication to Christhood. That's again, spirit becoming human. My birthright of freedom, my birthright of ascendance. I surrender to the field. I surrender to be responsible. I surrender to co-create, surrender to my creation, to my karma. I welcome learning. I welcome change. I welcome freedom. I decree abundance to be of service. So you see, I have some decrees in there. I also say I surrender and I'm going to take responsibility. These are all the things I'm just stating up front. This is how I'm moving into this spell. I want this. Now, the next part of it is what involved my boss. So let me set the stage here a little bit. I just called him the friend because that was the best way. That felt good to me. I didn't want to say boss. I didn't want to say his name. I just said the friend, basically a soul group person, because he was definitely there to create a lot of challenge for me. And the second line here where I said, I call back his own spell to be kind and aligned. That was a specific reference to him, like being in meetings or like kind of posturing and saying, hey, we're all one team, one dream. We got to support one another. We got to do this. You know what I mean? Like he was saying those things. And even if empathically, I'm like, yeah, that's just stuff he's saying. I'm like, no, I'm going to hold him to those words. I'm going to ask spirit to hold him to those words. So that's how I kind of did a binding spell in a sense, or a blocking spell that involved the other person. But I did it. You can imagine that would be good for him, right? I imagined that if he really wanted, that being a supportive boss was a good thing rather than being someone who was giving someone a hard time. And I was actually the least of the people. He would call people up and say, what the fuck? You know what I mean? Like he would never do that to me. But I know all of my other colleagues, he would do that. So I thought, I'm actually kind of I'm convicting him of something that's really good. Like he says he wants to be supportive, one team, one dream, success for everyone. So that's the stage here. I just wanted to give you an idea of how I got a little creative. So I humbly ask for the words that were once spoken by the friend. I call back his own spell to be kind and aligned. I call this to activation for the highest good, that this will be work that helps and heals all and harms none. This is very important in white magic. It's always and harms none or heals all. I am open to my own aligned learning and action in this part. I decree a block in frequency. Now, when I say that part, it's because I'm changing my vibration. And it's because I'm asking spirit to help him to change his vibration too. But I'm not. So that's what, to me, when I say something as strong as I decree a block in frequency, I can decree a block in frequency because I'm changing mine. I repel and block all frequencies of projection that are harmful to myself or anyone. See, that's pretty powerful because as a career codependent, I have to remind myself that when I allow myself to be harmed by someone else, it harms them as well. If I allow myself to be a victim, I am allowing them to be an aggressor. If I am a part of that equation, then I'm a part of the problem. So I block all frequencies that are harmful to myself or anyone. I repel frequencies in the unconditional expectation that they will release to source. I should capitalize that source. I repel these frequencies that they may offer opportunity for growth, that they may reveal the good work, that they may serve the higher purpose swiftly. I close my field to harmful frequencies. I only notice them if I may extend aligned compassion and support. So you see the body of this, you could make this rhyme, and that would take more work. I chose not to because I wanted to, again, pick keywords in there. Now, what I tend to do is repeat these things. So I might do a couple of those lines, then repeat my opening. Or I might do 4 or 5 lines, like half and half like this, then repeat my opening to reinforce it and to continue to induce myself deeper with the opening, that rhymes and has the meter. So you see some of these, again, like they're still spoken affirmatively, even though they are words like, I close my field to harmful frequencies. That's That's a sovereign choice. I don't have this open to be able to bring in a harmful frequency, or I repel. That is a positive action that I can do. And that's as opposed to how we tend to think about things in our ego mind, our human mind, is he needs to stop that. Stop him. That's not my business. I am asking for spirit to assist him to be the highest good of whatever that may be. And I'm happening to point out that he cast a spell himself. I'm supporting his spell that said, I'm a supportive and helpful guy and boss, and then I'm doing the rest of it as my own work. So again, I'm going to show you how I got to some of these things, but do you see how I actually got really specific and yet rode this line of taking responsibility? Everything that we say is yes, it is casting a spell. And like, I'm calling that boss out on it. I'm like, he cast that spell already. I'm just adding to it. I'm adding some fuel to that flame that he lit. But the most powerful spell that we can cast is the spells that we cast when we use the name of God. I am this, I am that, I'm so dumb. I'm sorry. Are you? You've heard me talk about that. Like, you say I'm sorry too much. Are you sorry? Are you sorry that your child needed your extra support today and that's why you're 5 minutes late? Are you really sorry? Maybe you can say thank you instead, and that would be a better use of God's name. your God's name, Yeah. And so, in these decrees, this one didn't happen to have I ams in it, but if you can put I ams in it or close with I ams, that's very, very powerful too. Okay. Remember, just interrupt me if you have anything. So there's our vibrational shift. So let me show us where we are. I think I'm getting the hang of it. Okay. Opening is the call on the highest light, rhyme and meter. Vibrational shift is where we just were, your spell, your decrees and requests. So there's the opening. I started with decrees in order to warm myself up and to set my priorities. My priorities are these things. And then my specifics, the things that I really want. All right, vibrational shift. This is the body of your spell, your decrees, requests. This will be woven throughout. This is why this slide is here. This will be woven throughout as you craft to get clear on what you want. Use the chakra questioning technique, which is suggested, and I'll be showing you. So what I'm saying here is that the vibrational shift actually begins at the very beginning, obviously, right? When you're doing your opening, if you really love your rhyming and everything, you're already starting to shift. But it is all woven through. It's all interdependent. But, I just wanted to mention that bit. Here we go. So this is that bridge between the vibrational shift to the closing, the refinement of frequency. And so it's like kind of after I asked all those specifics, it's like a mini bookend of the one of my decrees. And this is me starting to get to the amen. So here I fill with light. I allow light to crystallize my aura and field. I hold the light. I reflect the highest good, the highest frequencies unconditionally. I agree to the unconditional, that it is the essence of God. Once again, when I use the word God, for me, I'm calling my I am energy. I'm calling the God in me energy, the God within. The essence of God, the essence of creator is unconditional because God loves all creation equally. So I have all of those specifics that I just said, and now I'm like filling with light to crystallize them so that they are put in the right order, right place, and they are put in formation, because crystallization is formation. And then I say I hold it. In the way that I blocked all frequencies and repelled them, now I'm holding the light. And I do not have any tears in my aura, any tears in my field. I'm not leaking anything. I'm holding it full. And then I reflect the highest good back to the world. So if I am reflecting the highest good, then those negative frequencies can't even find me. The negative frequencies that want to create harm, it reflects back. So they won't find a home. So that's my refinement of frequency. And then this is the final part, closed. the closing, and this is something that's ritualized, embodied, the declaration statements. Now, when I say embodied, it will be embodied. Well, as the very last statement, it is an embodiment statement, but also just by speaking this with your voice, you're creating embodiment. So here is, this closing is pretty, I actually mentioned this, I think, in our last workshop. This is pretty universal. You might be able, if you want to, rip it just as is, swipe it, or change it if you like. As it is spoken, may it be perfected by unity. Any blind spots may be surrendered to love and light. As it is spoken, and so it is, in gratitude and appreciation, for it is done. As surely as I breathe, it is done. Now, this one doesn't have rhyme or meter to it. It is, but what's really great here, if you want to rewrite something for yourself, what I think is really good is this is another moment of surrender and saying, I'm releasing this, and I'm going to just say, please fix anything I didn't do right. Any blind spots, you know what I mean? I'm turning it over now. What's the old Christian phrase? Give it to God, give it over, whatever, turn it over. And so you're saying, I'm just letting it, and I trust that any blind spots will be taken care of. I trust that everything will be perfected by unity. And then this embodiment, calling in the embodiment principle and the resonance principle, as it is spoken, and so it is. In gratitude and appreciation, which means you are expanding it, you're adding to it, it is done. As surely as I breathe, it is done. And then breathe as you do this. As surely as I breathe, it is done. So that's another thing you can use throughout the day as it bubbles up to your consciousness. Very simple. Something like, as surely as I breathe, it is done. Why wouldn't it be done? Why wouldn't it? He declared, he cast a spell that he wants to be kind and supportive. I have blocked and repelled all negative frequencies. I am reflecting the light. As surely as I breathe, it is done. So a ritualized, embodied, declarative statement. And I want to let you know that there is a companion PDF. That's the slides from this particular workshop, the visual aid. And so some of that information you will be able to spend a little more time on if you want to download that PDF. So just check the link in the description here, and you'll be able to click through and download that supplemental PDF. Well, I hope you enjoyed this podcast and the exclusive content on magical spells. I really do appreciate you being here. I appreciate you connecting. And as I said that the Mystic Arts Academy is a co-creative space, so is this. So thank you so much for bringing your light here, for bringing your heart here. And if you have any requests for something you would like to hear on this podcast, then reach out to me. Reach out to me on my website. There is a contact form. I'll place the link below so that you can go ahead and just shoot me an email. And I would love to hear from you. Or if you have any comments, I would also like to invite you to please leave a review of this podcast if you enjoy it. That helps to boost the light quotient of others being able to connect with it. It helps me to be able to keep it going, as it helps it in the algorithm is what it's called in the technical sense. But I really just see it as infusing more light, appreciating together. So yeah, if you however you get your podcast on the app, there is a way for you to leave a review, and I would be so grateful. And I am so grateful that you're here with me. All right, everyone. I wish you so many blessings, so much love. I hold a high vision for you. Extend my heart out to you. Thanks for tuning in. I love you, whoever you are.